Hello and good evening, friends, and welcome to a very special edition of Wednesday Night Madness. I am your host, Anthony Florio, sitting in tonight for good old MF Michael Fletcher. I am here alongside the phenom, Michael Bullock, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. We have Wednesday Night Madness here tonight. It's a special edition because I'm hosting here tonight, so MF asked me to fill in for him at the last minute, and of course, I'm always happy to help out with that. So all right, so let's dive right on into our first match of the night on NXT, a battle for the NXT Tag Team Championship. The champions, Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo, defending the titles against the challenge of Los Lotharios, Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, winners of the match in 12 minutes and 28 seconds, and still the NXT Tag Team Champions, Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo. 3 1/4, 3.5 stars. Great jump off here. A solid way to start this show. I couldn't have been any more impressed with this match. Always a good jump off here. Just bear with me. And this is how it started. Tony D'Angelo, Channing Stacks Lorenzo putting the tag titles on the line against Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. Wes Lee hoped to earn another shot at Dominic Mysterio, but he would need to win a fatal four-way against 3 former North American champions, Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, and Kim. In the latest Iron Survivor qualifier set by Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler, Braun Breaker fought Eddie Thorpe for the first time, and Kiana James looked to qualify against Kalani Jordan. Nathan Frazier talked his way into a fight with Ilya Dragunov, the NXT champion Ilya Dragunov, while Andre Chase promised to break his silence about recent controversies on the future of Chase U. The Gold brand looks set to deliver quality action on the road to Deadline 2023. Now, as far as this opening match is concerned, like I said, fun opener that showcased the talent of 2 up-and-coming tag teams in WWE. While this probably should have been saved for Deadline where they could get more time, the teams maximized their minutes. The right pair won as it was too soon for the family to lose the gold again. But Carrillo and Garza are going to have a tough time getting back in the title contention soon. Perhaps this is a way to set up the brothers to return to the main roster. Both are certainly ready and have found a gimmick that will work for them better this time. Garza and Carrillo tried to take a cheap shot before the match got started, even teasing grabbing a table, but the family fought them off. Carrillo planted the Don with a powerbomb off the second rope, followed by a double team superplex on the underboss with Garza. And that's all I can say on that. So, like I said, 3 1/4, 3.5 stars. Solid jump off here. So, not much more to say here. Phenom, Michael Bullock, come on in. Let's get your thoughts on this opening tag team championship matchup as the family successfully defends against Los Lotharios, 12 minutes and 38 seconds.
Yeah, definitely a good way to start it off. And no surprise here with the outcome. Definitely Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo definitely gave them all they could handle in this match, but the outcome to me was like I said, it was never in doubt. So 3 1/4 to 3.5 stars. A good way to jump off this edition of NXT. So let's move on.
And move on we will. It was the women's Iron Survivor qualifying match that was made by Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. Kalani Jordan squaring off against Kiana James, and Kalani Jordan winning the match 10 minutes and 14 seconds. Michael Bullock, it was all because Roxanne Perez grabbed the ring bell and distracted Kiana James as Kiana James was going for the kill, but Roxanne Perez paying her back for costing Roxanne Perez her qualifier. And because of that, Kalani Jordan going to Deadline. She will now be in the Iron Survivor Challenge match with the likes of Tiffany Stratton, Lash Legend, and Blair Davenport. Big opportunity for Kalani Jordan after we felt she got robbed in that breakout tournament.
Yeah, this is definitely a huge opportunity for her. When, like you said, I mean, when we both felt she was robbed of that in the breakout tournament, but yeah, now she gets her another opportunity here. So yeah, she definitely makes the best out of it. Even though, like you said, Roxanne Perez had a little assist in it, but there's an old saying here: what goes around comes around. I mean, Kiana James did it to Roxanne Perez last week, so Perez is like, you know what? You did that to me, I'm gonna do that to you. So yeah, this rivalry is definitely starting to heat up here with these two. So 2.5 stars. I'll give it 2.5 to 3, maybe more like 2.5 here. Yeah, so Kalani Jordan going to Deadline in that that Survivor Challenge. So yeah, there's nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
Well, Kiana James came in as the favorite. The upset result was fairly predictable. Since the heel had already cost her rival a shot in the Iron Survivor Challenge, the Prodigy had to do the same. The action was solid and highlighted two of NXT's smoothest in-ring workers. It was a bit too choreographed, but both looked strong coming out of the bout. The right woman won as Jordan needed a rebound after losing the women's breakout tournament. She should turn heads in the biggest match of her career. And during this match, NXT showed Nikita Lyons in the crowd after highlighting her recovery training video posted on Instagram. So Perez gloated later about costing James her shot. Ava Raine announced 2 last chance qualifiers for next week. A brawl broke out that ended with Roxanne Perez and Kiana James at each other's throats. And also after the match, Alpha Academy challenged Metaphor to a 6-person mixed tag match. So that's the story out of all that. 3 stars, right around 3.25 stars or so. That's the best I can give this. So with all that being said, let's move on to our next match. Then it was the Andre Chase controversy. What's going on here? Andre Chase addressed the investigation on Chase U on gambling and misuse of college funds. The professor admitted all accusations were true, and he was working to get the university out of debt. So that's all I can say on that. So we're not going to get too much into detail on that. So let's get into the men's Iron Survivor qualifier match made by Jerry the King Lawler. Braun Breaker squaring off against Eddie Thorpe. And Braun Breaker wins the match 10 minutes and 13 seconds. Another 3.25 stars for this one. It probably went longer than it needed to, but the two men told a clear story in the ring. This did not feel like two developmental prospects wrestling. This was a fight between stars. Breaker had to win to give the Iron Survivor Challenge a clear favorite, but Eddie Thorpe is ready for more as well. He just hasn't quite put it all together yet. When his chance comes, he needs to bring the physicality shown in this match, but also raise the energy of his performance. Eddie Thorpe came out with bandaged ribs from last week's attack, and Breaker went after the ribs with every attack. So I'm not going to go too further into detail on that. So another 3 to 3.25 stars for this one. A predictable outcome. We all knew Breaker was going to win this thing. So not much more to say here. Michael Bullock, Braun Breaker defeating Eddie Thorpe. 10 minutes and 13 seconds. Braun Breaker advances to the men's Iron Survivor match.
Yeah, I mean, the outcome was never in doubt. They need to have, like you said, a clear favorite here. But yeah, Eddie Thorpe definitely gave Braun Breaker all he can handle here. So don't worry, his time will come eventually, but not now against Braun Breaker. So 3.25. I agree with you on that. So let's move on, Florio.
Will do, Bullock. Next up. All right. Non-title matchup. NXT champion Ilya Dragunov squaring off against Nathan Frazier. Ilya Dragunov winning the match 5 minutes and 25 seconds. Fun little sprint. What did you say, Bullock?
Yeah, it was a fun little sprint. I can give it about maybe 2.5 for this one. I mean, it was, like you said, a short match, but in the time it did get, I enjoyed everything that I saw here. I mean, like you said, and Nathan Frazier was trying to prove himself, but there's no way he was beating Ilya Dragunov, especially this was sort of like a tune-up match before he faces Baron Corbin at Deadline. So, 2.5 stars. It's yours, Florio.
2.5 stars. This was about as good as a 5-minute match can get. The crowd was completely invested in a fast-paced and physical battle of two men with chemistry to spare. A rematch would be welcome, especially with more time. Frazier barely got to show what he can do, as this match was all about the anger of the Mad Dragon. Baron Corbin's promos the last 2 weeks have actually sold the importance of the NXT Championship match at Deadline. It is down to both men to deliver that story in the ring next. Excuse me. NXT caught footage of Frazier and Dragunov arguing backstage in reaction to Corbin's video interview last week. Dragunov battered Frazier into the mat to start the match. As the beatdown continued with suplexes, the crowd chanted Suplex City, a la Brock Lesnar. And the Mad Dragon tried to extend a hand to his opponent, but he got distracted by Baron Corbin on the Titantron. Nailed that rating. 2.5 stars. That's all we can give that. Would have loved to have seen more, but boy, howdy, they put all that in a 5.5 minute match. Very, very well done indeed. And then we had another women's match. It was Ariana Grace squaring off against Carmen Petrovic, and Ariana Grace winning the match in 9 minutes and 5 seconds. And it was all because of Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy causing trouble during this match. But he ran off with the ring bell early in the bout. He reappeared to ring it after Ariana Grace poked Carmen Petrovic and planted her with a wasteland-like maneuver to win the match. The distraction of Gacy did not help this match stand out. The action was fairly generic. Both women hit their expected offense, but the pacing was slow. The two do not have the chemistry to make this feud work. However, this at least showed the potential of the women individually, and they should stand out once they are working with those with more experience. At this stage, neither is ready to lead a 9-minute bout, but they may have the ability to follow a top name like a Roxanne Perez or a Kiana James or a Tiffany Stratton. Petrovic showcased her discipline and focus in shutting up Grace. And then Joe Gacy cut a promo from underneath the ring right before the match. But I'll give it a solid 3 stars for the effort. So not much more, a good about 2.5 to 3 for the effort here, I should say. So not much more to say here. What is going on with Joe Gacy, man? I mean, I have no idea what's going on with Joe Gacy, but you know, we'll have to keep an eye on this developing situation. But Ariana Grace defeating Carmen Petrovic in 9 minutes and 5 seconds. What in the world is going on with Joe Gacy, man?
I really don't know. I mean, he is basically leaving us with more questions than answers when it comes to this. I mean, I just really don't know. But this definitely did take away from it. But, you know, it was still a good match. Like you said, I'm with you. I'm going to give this 2.5 to 3 stars as well. So I really don't know what else is there to say except let's move on, Florio.
All right. In other action, we also had next up we had Brooks Jensen squaring off against Lexis King. Lexis King winning the match 8 minutes and 17 seconds. Bullock, your thoughts?
Another 2.5 star match here. I mean, this was all over the place. I mean, obviously you had Carmelo Hayes coming out during all this, and yeah, this whole thing with Lexis King and Carmelo Hayes. I mean, Lexis King obviously wants to make a name for himself here, and yeah, so we'll just wait and see how this thing continues to develop. So it's yours, Florio.
Oh yes, absolutely. As we continue to solve the mystery of who attacked Trick Williams, this was not. I got to be honest. This was not the best showcase for Lexis King. Brooks Jensen was the entire focus of the action. Lexis King just snuck away with the victory at the end. NXT has put so much into Lexis King early, Pitting him against Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams early sets him up as a top heel. However, he needs to back up that trust by competing at a high level. While NXT continues to sell that King was the one that attacked Trick, it seems unlikely that will be the final result. Melo still looks like the most likely culprit. King tried to stir the pot between Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen, setting up a challenge. NXT Anonymous showed a video of King stalking Trick just before he got attacked. After watching the footage, Melo and Trick talked about making King pay. So that's all there is to say there. And then in a backstage segment after the match was over, Fallon Henley warned Lyra Valkyria that she would win the Last Chance qualifier and Iron Survivor Challenge. Tatum Paxley arrived to seemingly admire the Valkyrie. So another 2.5 to 3 or so. Main event of the evening, a fatal 4-way match. Wes Lee squaring off against Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, and Cameron Grimes. If Wes Lee won this match, he would head to Deadline to challenge Dominic Mysterio for the NXT North American Championship. The winner of the match, 17 minutes and 17 seconds, Wes Lee. Wes Lee wins the match. Wes Lee will get another shot at Dominic Mysterio and the NXT North American Championship at Deadline. Hands down the fight of the night. 4.25, teetering on 4.5 stars. Unsurprisingly, this match was fantastic. It showed the value of each man, and the crowd was completely invested in the return of some of NXT's finest. The nostalgia was earned. Johnny Gargano remains a different kind of athlete in NXT, and Bronson Reed was a wonderful centerpiece of this battle, thanks to his size and power. Cameron Grimes also showed why he deserves more on Friday Night SmackDown. Wes Lee showed that he belonged and why NXT should consider giving him a second reign as NXT North American Champion. He remains one of the brand's best bout machines and sold his passion for the title he lost. NXT showed video packages highlighting each returning wrestler's previous North American Championship reign. Wes Lee put over his opponents but promised victory. Dirty Dominic Mysterio joined Vic Joseph and Booker T on commentary. Johnny Gargano got a welcome back chant. He was the obvious crowd favorite. And Mr. Nice Guy nearly took the win with a beautiful Death Valley driver on Lee. He then smashed everyone with a 3-for-1 Death Valley driver. All three had to powerbomb Bronson Reed to take him out. And the night ended with a brawl in the parking lot. Officials could not break up Roxanne Perez and Kiana James. So that's all there is to say on this. Excellent main event. 4.25, 4.5 stars. Michael Bullock, outcome never in doubt, but boy howdy, the match we got to get to that outcome, wow, unbelievable. 4.25, 4.5.
Yeah, 4.25, 4.5. The fight of the night. I mean, yeah, Wes Lee definitely proved himself, but it was definitely good to see some of those former NXTers there, especially Johnny Gargano, and the NXT universe definitely welcomed him back with open arms. And yes, and now with this win, Wes Lee gets his opportunity at Dominic Mysterio and the North American Championship at Deadline. So he has a chance to once again be the North American champion, but we'll see how it all plays out. So 4.25 stars on this one. And as far as my overall thoughts on this edition of NXT, I'll give it about maybe 7.5. I mean, there were some good matches. I mean, there were some things that I thought that definitely could have been better, but all in all, I thought it was a good show. So 7.5. It's yours, Florio.
Yes. Right. So I do apologize for that little freeze up there, friends. NXT delivered a step in the right direction, but outside of the main event, the rest of the show will likely be forgotten past last night. Luckily, that main event was good enough to elevate the show. It should hopefully open up WWE officials' eyes to the potential that Johnny Gargano and Cameron Grimes still have while reinforcing the value of Bronson Reed. The right wrestlers won on a night that built toward deadline, and NXT even ended the show highlighting a women's feud that should stand out without any gold on the line in Roxanne Perez versus Kiana James. The Iron Survivor Challenge matches have shaped up in odd fashion. NXT seems to be giving a few new stars a chance to prove themselves alongside the obvious favorites. Next week's final qualifiers should be very interesting. The best bet on winners would be Carmelo Hayes and Fallon Henley, but nothing is certain with the result already from the initial qualifiers. NXT is building a good deadline card and can still deliver stellar action with the right focus. The go-home show next week will likely be better than this show. I'm with Bullock on this one. 7.5 for me as well. So with that being said, let's dive on into our next show, which, of course, that happens to be AEW Dynamite, which was live tonight from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the home of the NBA's Minnesota Timberwolves, of course. And just bear with me for a moment as I get my notes ready for this, and then we'll dive right on in. I do apologize for this. I don't know. No, my usual set of notes is not appearing here. Very weird. But nonetheless, AEW Dynamite, of course, like I said, live tonight from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, exclusively on TBS, and with that, we okay. The Continental Classic continued tonight on AEW Dynamite with former AEW World Champion Jon Moxley, the Red Hot Swerve Strickland, and former top contender Switchblade Jay White all in action. Were those three able to secure big wins and continue their path to the World's End pay-per-view on Saturday, December 30th? Find out now with this recap of a show that also featured the latest from TNT champion Christian Cage and a special appearance on commentary from Bryan Danielson. Okay, so with all that being said, let's dive on into our first match of the night, which was the first of the Continental Classic matches, which was Jon Moxley squaring off against Jay Lethal, and the winner of the match in 11 minutes and 20 seconds, it was Jon Moxley. Now, for anybody who may be new to this, this whole Iron Survivor, I don't know why I'm getting the Iron Survivor on my mind. I'm sorry. Had a long day. But anybody who may have had, who may not know what this Continental Classic is exactly, let me explain how this works. Matches will be contested with a 20-minute time limit. There will be no seconds or managers or what have you allowed at ringside, and outside interference will not be tolerated, which may throw a monkey wrench in how many of the competitors generally handle their business. In addition, the scoring system for the Continental Classic will be very straightforward and simple, with points being awarded as follows: 3 points for a win and 1 point for a draw. So that's how that works out. It's a round robin tournament, 6 competitors. There's a gold group and a blue group. In case you didn't see the selection special from a week ago, in the blue group, you have Andrade El Idolo, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, Brody King of the House of Black, Claudio Castagnoli of the Blackpool Combat Club, Daniel Garcia, and Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion and New Japan Strong Openweight Champion, the Mad King, Eddie Kingston. That represents the blue group. In the gold group, you got Jay Lethal, Switchblade Jay White, Jon Moxley of the Blackpool Combat Club, Mark Briscoe, Roosh of the Facción Ingobernables, and Swerve Strickland of the leader of the Mogul Embassy. So, so that is that on for that, and in the first match of the night, it was like I said, it was Jon Moxley swearing off against Jay Lethal this evening, and Jon Moxley winning the match in 11 minutes and 20 seconds. Continental, yep, I did mention all that. Okay. All right. I do apologize. I had a lot of bumps in the road here, but I got it. Moxley earned a gritty win. Jay Lethal remained winless in the tournament. And Moxley up to 6 points now. Jay Lethal still looking for his first points. 3.25. Jon Moxley dove through the ropes, but he bent backward on his knee and was clearly nursing it in the moments immediately after it. Moxley rocked Lethal with a forearm that viewers at home could feel. This is a match that would have been helped exponentially by literally anyone thinking Jay Lethal had a chance in hell of actually winning. A pre-tape promo from Eddie Kingston put over the devastation of his loss to Brody King last Saturday on Collision, while simultaneously depicting a determined competitor, Bryan Danielson, sitting in on commentary for the night, promised he would not be humble in his pursuit of victory and the opportunity to be the first AEW Triple Crown champion. 3.25 stars for that. So with all that being said, Michael Bullock, come on in. Jon Moxley defeating Jay Lethal, 11 minutes and 20 seconds, as we continue the first ever, the inaugural AEW Continental Classic round robin tournament. Finals will be at the World's End pay-per-view on December 30th. And Jon Moxley, continuing his hot streak, he defeats Jay Lethal. He has 6 points. Jay Lethal still looking for his first win.
Yeah, if Jon Moxley continues with this, he could definitely be at that World's End event in December or December 30th. So we'll see what happens with this. So yeah, I'm with you. 3.25 stars. I mean, yeah, like I said, the role continues for Jon Moxley, and Jay Lethal, well, let's just say he's still trying to get that first win of this. Well, when it comes to him, so there's really nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
All right, and we move on. Next match, the second of 3 matches that took place in the Continental Classic. By the way this has been booked, I'm going to take a wild guess here, and I'm going to say that the gold group matches are going to be exclusive to AEW Dynamite, and the blue group matches are going to be exclusive to AEW Collision. So we move on to the next match, which was the second of the 3 matches. But before we got into that, normally I don't get into backstage segments, but this is one of the rare times that I feel it needs to be addressed. The legendary Tony Schiavone was backstage, and he had not one, but 2 very special guests. Those 2 being the Icon Sting and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Tony Schiavone made the announcement that the AEW Revolution 2024 pay-per-view has a date and a location. It will take place on Sunday night, March 3rd of 2024, and it will emanate from the legendary Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. And it's because... And that's significant because that Revolution pay-per-view will be the night where Sting will wrestle his final match, his retirement farewell match, in the very arena that put him on the map in the first place. That's the arena where on March 27th of 1988, while this inaugural, it was the inaugural Clash of the Champions. And on that night, it went head-to-head with WrestleMania 4. you all remember WrestleMania 4 was the night of the big tournament to crown the undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion. That, of course, ended up going to the Macho Man Randy Savage. Of course, he went on to win that tournament in very exciting fashion. Oh, by the way, one of my all-time favorite WrestleMania moments. I'm sure Bullock will concur with that. And on top of that, on that very same day, in Greensboro, North Carolina, Sting and the Nature Boy Ric Flair battled for the big gold belt of the World Heavyweight Championship. And they battled and they wrestled to a 45-minute time limit draw. They had judges at ringside to score the bout, and it was basically a split. And it was because of that the match was ruled a draw. Ric Flair retained the title. But that was the match that Sting became a legend, and that's the big announcement. AEW Revolution 2024, March 3rd, 2024, Greensboro Coliseum, Greensboro, North Carolina. The same arena where Sting and Flair battled for the World Heavyweight Championship in that 45-minute draw. A great venue choice for Sting's final match. That was fun. And that's all I can say on that. So a fun little backstage moment there. So, all right, now to that second Continental Classic Tournament Gold League match. Mark Briscoe squaring off against Rush, and Rush wins the match, 11 minutes and 25 seconds. So Michael Bullock, Rush is on the board, but Mark Briscoe still looking for his first win.
Yeah, I mean, nice win for Rush as he finally gets on the board. And yeah, Mark Briscoe's still looking to get some points in this classic, but a solid match all around. I'll give this about maybe another 3.25, maybe teetering on 3.5. But yeah, nice win here for Rush as he moves on. So, or as he finally gets on the board and gets some points here. So, nothing more to say. It's yours, Wario.
Another 3.25 star match. Rush earned his first points of the Continental Classic, defeating Mark Briscoe in a match that was better than the opener and uber competitive at that. It was a hard-hitting battle between two men who showed appropriate amounts of urgency given the deficit they found themselves at. Rush winning was probably the right choice, but that particular outcome takes another Ring of Honor original and puts him in a hole. Winless in a tournament to crown the first ever AEW Triple Crown champion. Mark Briscoe joins Jay Lethal as the only two competitors to compete twice and lose both matches. One will eventually win, but that does not necessarily do much for the legacy of a Ring of Honor brand that has already seen its importance devalued by the manner in which it has been portrayed over the last year. And of course, I already mentioned Sting and Ric Flair joined Tony Schiavone to announce that that Sting's retirement match on March 3rd of 2024 at Revolution, at the Revolution pay-per-view, will take place at the historic Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. And Mark Briscoe and Rush brought the intensity in action early and often. This was the second match in a row where the focal point was the leg. Communication between producers/coaches prevents running back-to-back matches with essentially the same in-ring story. So 3.25 for that one as well. More 3.25, really. And then we heard from the AEW World Heavyweight Champion MJF. He cut a promo about his upcoming match with Samoa Joe at the World's End. Rather than insulting the number one contender, he instead put Joe over as a revolutionary who bucked the trend and became a star in professional wrestling, despite not looking like the prototypical wrestler. Even going back to the days of Samoa Joe when he dominated TNA, and boy howdy, he did dominate TNA. He had an unbeaten streak he had a year and a half unbeaten streak in his first, when he first got to TNA, right around late 2004, early 2005. He was unbeaten for 18 months at least. I think it was about 18 months or so. But anyways, MJF credited Joe with proving alternatives could exist and went as far as to say AEW would not exist without his upcoming pay-per-view opponent paving the way. He vowed to go home to Long Island regardless of his hip and shoulder injuries and defend his title. Unknown masked assailants cut things off and attacked the world champ, leading to Joe making the save. A typewritten message appeared on the screen, challenging MJF and Samoa Joe to a tag team match next week on Dynamite in Montreal, which the people's scumbag readily accepted. MJF's words about Joe were from the heart and did wonders to put him over in ways that simply booking him in big-time matches could not. There were words of respect that hyped the significance of the competitor to the history of wrestling and properly set him up to potentially dethrone him, should that be the direction Tony Khan chooses to head at World's End on December 30th. MJF pointing out that WWE did not see Samoa Joe as a world champion felt, in the context of everything else he had said, like a pot shot rather than a point. The promo did not need it. And Joe coming to MJF's aid was a nice touch, a moment that saw him extend the same respect to his pay-per-view opponent that was extended to him. So, Joe and MJF will take on those two masked assailants next Wednesday night on Dynamite in Montreal. So we'll see how that works out. Then we had Wardlow with a delicious squash of AR Fox. He squashed him. It was a delicious squash. It was a referee stoppage. That's what happened here. That's what we've been seeing from Wardlow as of late. I mean, Wardlow's been squashing his opponents, and I'll say it like this: Wardlow squashed AR Fox tonight in a match that was more competitive than what we have seen out of the War Dog since his return, but one that amounted to the same thing we have seen out of him. Nothing was advanced, and Wardlow was not enhanced in any meaningful way. With everything going on with MJF and the injuries he is currently suffering from at this point, there is reason to be concerned that Wardlow could once again find himself in a holding pattern. Not great for a guy who has seen pushes start and stop. And no mention of MJF during Wardlow's dismantling of Fox. Very interesting. Most interesting, to say the very least. So there isn't much more for me to add on to this. So with that being said, we will continue on here. We had ourselves a 6-man tag team match, or a trios match, as they like to call it. Top Flight, the Martin brothers. Dante Martin, Darius Martin. By the way, that squash, Wardlow won the match in 3 minutes and 15 seconds. So we're not going to waste any time on that. It was the Martin brothers, Dante and Darius Martin, along with Action Andretti, going up against the Hardy Boys and Brother Zay. And the winners of the match, Dante Martin, Darius Martin, and Action Andretti, winning the match in 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Wow, color me surprised. 3 to 3 1/4 here. The victory was a momentum builder for the young trio, but also a momentous occasion for Dante Martin, who made his in-ring return to Dynamite following a sickening leg injury that he suffered at the Supercard of Honor event back at WrestleMania week. The right team went over, and the return of Martin is more than welcome. At one point, he was one of the most exciting young stars on the roster, and a guy who looked ready to establish himself as one of the great high-flying underdog competitors in the company. It appears he is destined to work in tag teams for the time being. While that might stunt his personal growth, it at least keeps him on TV and puts him in a position to ease back into the action with his brother Darius, rather than pressuring himself to show out on his own. Dante Martin's devastating leg injury from this past spring was not something anyone ever needed to see again. Dante is back from a serious injury, would have done just fine. Dante looked great while executing the babyface comeback, and the hometown crowd in Minneapolis ate it all up. And Penta, El Ziedo Miedo, El Hijo Vikingo, and Commander issued a challenge to the winners backstage after a brief break. So, yeah, sign us up for that, please. 3 to 3 1/4 stars for this effort here. So, not much more to say. Michael Bullock, what a win. The Martin brothers, Dante and Darius Martin, along with Action Andretti, defeating Brother Zay and the Hardys, 940. Wow, big win for the Martins and Andretti.
Yep, definitely a big win. But here's the thing, Florio. They were in the hometown of Dante Martin, so it kind of makes sense that they put him over here. And of course, it's his first match back since March with that devastating leg injury, which was so gruesome. I mean, I don't know why they had to show that again because it was just, oh, just seeing that was just, yeah. But yeah, I mean, having them lose, especially Dante Martin in his first match back, would have not been the right thing. So having them go over, I thought was the right call here. So a big win for them. So nothing more to say. 3.25 stars. It's yours, Florio.
All right, Bullock. Next match, you start this one off. A house rules match for the TBS Championship. Julia Hart defending the title against Emi Sakura. The house rules choice was that the match could not end via submission. So Julia Hart had to find another way to win without using her patented submission hold, Heartless. But no submission, no problem. Julia Hart successfully defends the title, 7 minutes and 35 seconds. So, Michael Bullock, your thoughts? Julia Hart, another successful title defense, defeating Emi Sakura, 7:35, and did it without using her, and found a way to do it without using her patented submission hold, the Heartless.
Yeah, I mean, she still found a way to do it even without having to use that submission hold of hers. So yeah, I mean, I'll give this about maybe. I'll give this about maybe 2.5 stars on this one, and I mean, obviously the outcome was never in doubt. I mean, I knew Julia Hart was going to retain the title here, so yes, a nice win for her. So who's going to be next in line? So we'll see. It's yours, Florio.
2.5, 2 3/4. It was I'll tell you what. When it comes to that no victory via submission, it was an expert decision by the veteran Sakura, who took some of Julia Hart's most devastating maneuvers out of her arsenal and forced the champion to take to the sky to achieve victory. And Julia Hart did just that, landing a moonsault that did not get all of Sakura, who appeared to be trying to roll out of the way. Hart covered and secured the win. The crowd greeted the outcome with a positive reaction, and the champion continued to thrive. A solid, if unspectacular match. It highlighted a young talent and reintroduced the house rules gimmick, which brings a different element to Hart's matches. The chants of Julia reflect an audience that is totally behind the young champion, whose performances have evolved over the last year, making her one of the more intriguing competitors in the company. And Julia Hart is another hometown hero, perhaps explaining the raucous response for her. All right. Normally, we usually don't get into promo segments, but Michael Bullock, I know this is one you want to get into because you mentioned this. You talked about this during our in our messenger chat. It was the TNT champion, Christian Cage. He comes out and he calls out the Rated R superstar, Adam Copeland. 1 week after Adam Copeland challenged Christian Cage for a TNT championship match for next Wednesday night's Dynamite in Montreal, the champion requested his former friend and tag team partner come to the ring for his response. Cage attempted to sweet talk Copeland, taking him on a journey through their long history together before trying to convince the Hall of Famer to reunite with him one last time for his late mother. Copeland responded with a low blow and some blunt profanity to wrap up another great segment that was but another showcase for Christian Cage's extraordinary heel character. For a moment, it looked like he was going to play the dead dad card, but he thought better of it, only to still pay for it in the end. Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage is a huge main event and should make for some must-see television next Wednesday night in Montreal. Cage slipped up and called Killswitch by his old name, Luchasaurus. It's hard to fault him, mostly because the new name is pure garbage. Cage is such a disingenuous slimeball. He is as good a heel as there is in wrestling today. Copeland saw through Cage's nonsense, kicked him low, and told him to shine up the TNT title because it's coming home with the Rated R superstar next week. And someone is slacking on the censor button and probably just cost Tony Khan a big old fine. Because we all know what happened. Adam Copeland told Christian Cage to go bleep himself. So you know what that means. So there isn't much more to say on this. Fantastic segment. This was the segment of the night. Although the The segment with MJF and Joe was just as good, but this one was definitely better. Michael Bullock, I know you're chomping at the bits to get into this, but Christian Cage, Adam Copeland, he told Christian to go F himself. Oh, that's not PG. Absolutely it is not. But nonetheless, though, Christian Cage, Adam Copeland, TNT Championship next Wednesday night on Dynamite in Montreal. Whew.
Yeah, Christian Cage, I mean, being the slime ball that he is, I mean, he tried to play the history and hoping that Adam Copeland would team up with him one more time. But, I mean, this is reminiscent of when Adam Copeland tried to do that and Christian told him to go F himself. Well, I guess this is another what goes around comes around. And let's just say, Florio, Adam Copeland's no dummy. He could see right through Christian's evilness and basically low blowed him and says, shine that title real good because that title's coming to me next week. No, by the way, go F yourself. And somebody was asleep at the button because they forgot to hit the sensor on it because we all heard it. And yeah, I got a feeling that there's going to be a fine coming away for Tony Khan for that. So yeah, learn how to use that censor button when the time is right. So nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
All right. And we move on to the main event of the evening, the third and final match from the Continental Classic Gold League. Switchblade, Jay White squaring off against Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland wins the match in 15 and a half minutes. Oh, Bullock, I only wish MF was here because MF had to have loved that outcome.
Oh, if MF was here right now, he would be enjoying this outcome. Well, I'm pretty sure he is somewhere out there right now, and because we all know of his hatred for Jay White. So, yeah, I'm gonna give this about 3.5 to 4, hands down the fight of the night, and another big win here for Swerve Strickland, and he adds to his point total. So we'll wait and see how this goes. So yeah, no doubt the fight of the night. It is yours, Florio.
Swerve Strickland joined Jon Moxley with 6 points in this Continental Classic, defeating Switchblade Jay White in a superb main event. The two immediately demonstrated chemistry and crafted a match in which both were allowed to shine through cerebral mat work, reversals, and counters, culminating with Strickland out-wrestling White for the grueling win. This match was a great showcase for two of the budding faces of AEW, one by arguably the hottest guy in the company, this side of MJF, in Swerve Strickland. The look on Jay White's face after the referee called for the bell suggests he is about to become more dangerous than ever as desperation sets in early in this tournament. What that leads him to do and how it affects his pursuit of the AEW Triple Crown remains to be seen. Prince Nana danced while propping himself up with a crutch and selling the Deadeye from Hangman Page to a table at Full Gear in a fun bit of business. Bryan Danielson on commentary rightly called Jay White playing possum, which proved accurate as Switchblade delivered a nasty chop block to Strickland. The American Dragon adds a lot to the commentary team when it comes to explaining one strategy. And don't forget, he does have commentary experience. Cruiserweight Classic 2016, him and Mauro Ranallo. What a job those two did during that. Another reason why I had so much fun watching that 7 years ago. Jay White might be the smoothest wrestler in the business. There's a fluidity to his work. It's way too early to compare him to Randy Orton, but he has some of the same characteristics in his work that the Viper does. There's a smoothness, effortlessness even, that makes everything look so natural and easy. In the same match where Bryan Danielson touted the defensive wrestling of Jay White, it was ironically Swerve Strickland that won the match by countering his opponent's offense. 4 to 4.25 stars is my rating for this fight of the night, no question about it. So, nothing left to say on that. We get to the overall review. This was another steady builder for AEW. The Continental Classic action was all mostly good, if not great, in regard to the main event. But the lack of storylines intertwined has hurt it to this point. Yes, the focus is the matches themselves, but there should always be something for fans to invest their time and energy into, beyond just the ring work. Look at the Texas death match between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page at Full Gear. A bloody, ultra-violent brawl, sure, but it at least made sense within the context of the storyline at play. Lacking those stories, they really are just matches for matches' sake, no matter how good they may be. The MJF promo was fantastic, and he did in one night what TNA, WWE, and even AEW had failed to do to this point. Accurately depict how important Samoa Joe is to the history of professional wrestling and explain why the company is lucky to still have him. Not only does it elevate him for his match with MJF at World's End, but it is a sign of respect for a guy who, like the much talked about CM Punk, was instrumental in laying the groundwork for the style of wrestling we see across the industry today. Julia Hart shined. Top Flight and Action Andretti got a big win in what hopefully is a sign of things to come in the trios division. And Christian Cage continues to be a national treasure by way of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Another solid show from AEW that would be even more highly regarded if there was a way to make the ongoing tournament bouts feel more significant through different story threads. 7.5 to 8 out of 10 for me on this one. So not much more for me to say on this. So Michael Bullock, let's get your overall thoughts, and then we'll preview Thursday Night Football, which happens to be on our side of the ledger, the game of the week via CrossFlex.
Yeah, 7.5 to 8. I mean, I thought this was another solid edition of Dynamite here. I mean, they delivered on some things, but yeah, all in all, a solid show. So, with that being said, let's get into Thursday Night Football.
And I only wish MF was here because this is our game of the week here via the CrossFlex, because the matchups on our side of the ledger, some are good, but not all that overly exciting, if I'm going to be honest with you. So we decided to go by the way of CrossFlex. Week 13 of the NFL season starts tomorrow night, Amazon Prime Video. 6 teams are on bye this week: the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Chicago Bears, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Minnesota Vikings, and the New York Giants. They are all on bye this week. So there will not be as many games to get into this time around, but nonetheless, let's get into the game that you will see on Amazon Prime Video tomorrow night. A CrossFlex for myself and MF. This is our game of the week right here, as it will feature the Seattle Seahawks squaring off against the Dallas Cowboys, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. You already know who's working it as always: Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit, and Kaylee Hartung. And Dallas opening up as a 9-point favorite in this one. A 9-point spread for the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas leads the all-time regular season series 10-9. Last meeting was 2020 in Seattle. Seattle winning 38-31. Their last meeting in Dallas was actually a playoff game. January of 2019, the Dallas Cowboys won that game by a score of 24-22. Last regular season game in Dallas, 2017, Seattle won 21-12. Dallas hasn't beaten Seattle at home since 2011. That was a 23-13 final. So I do want to address, for those of you people who may not have Amazon Prime Video, you can watch the games, Seattle and Dallas only. You can watch the game on both of your respective Fox affiliates. For Seattle, it's KCPQ Fox Channel 13. And for Dallas, it's KDFW Fox Channel 4 in Dallas. So both of your Fox affiliates is where you can find this game tomorrow night for those of you in Seattle and Dallas who may not have Amazon Prime Video. So with that being said, let's get into what will be our default game of the week for our side of the ledger via CrossFlex. So, all right, so here we go. Just bear with me for a moment here. Okay. Got everything I need. Okay. Dallas is 5-0 straight up at home and won those 5 games by an average of 29 points a game. It's one of the most dominant stretches at home possible, With the exception of a blowout loss at Baltimore, the Seahawks are 3-2 against the spread on the road and have been competitive in losses. And this is most certainly a there's definitely implications here. There are major implications in this one, and because Dallas, trying to keep pace with Philadelphia in the NFC East, and of course trying to keep pace in that race for the number one seed in the NFC, whereas Seattle trying to keep pace with San Francisco in the NFC West, of course. The Seahawks are limping into the game with poor quarterback and line play. They also can't count on the running game to boost everything. The Cowboys have destroyed reeling teams at home all season long, and even though Seattle's defense has improved, there are enough holes to exploit for a red-hot Dak Prescott, and Tony Pollard can continue his recent juice. And I think it's going to be a little closer than what the experts are saying, but nonetheless, and one more quick point I want to make here: this is an enormous game for these teams in terms of the playoffs. The Cowboys are rolling right now, while the Seahawks are stumbling. The Cowboys have been dominant at home, and there's no reason to think that won't carry over here. Dak Prescott continues his hot ways. I got the Cowboys winning this one. I think it'll be close going into the fourth quarter, but I think Dallas will put it away with a late score. I'm going to say Dallas wins this game. My final score, 31-20. The Dallas Cowboys defeat the Seattle Seahawks, keep their hot streak going, and Seattle continues trending in the wrong direction. This is not the best time to be playing your worst football, so especially if you want to keep pace with San Francisco in the NFC West. So Dallas wins, keeps pace with Philly in the NFC East and in that race for the number one seed, along with the likes of Philly, San Francisco, and Detroit. So 31-20, Dallas wins. So Michael Bullock, since MF is not here, I'm going to make you the Tony Romo in my gym, Nance. He's the Phil Simms. You're the Tony Romo in this case. So let's do it for MF. Do that thing I like that MF always does. Hello, friends.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a good game here, no doubt about it. I mean, for Seattle to basically, if they want to have a chance here, they need to slow down Dak Prescott and the rest of that offense of the Dallas Cowboys, because Prescott's going to be on his game. So is Tony Pollard and the rest of that receiving core with CeeDee Lamb, and they need to just go on nice long drives to basically tire out that Dallas Cowboys defense here. But I just think it's going to be too tall of an order for them. Dallas is playing at home. They're playing well, especially coming off of their performance on Thanksgiving Day against the Washington Commanders. So I'm with you, Florio. I'm definitely going with the Dallas Cowboys to win this one, and to keep chase with the Philadelphia Eagles, and for that number one spot in the NFC. So nothing more to say. Let's put a bow on this.
Absolutely. And that will indeed put the bow on this special edition of Wednesday Night Madness. I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. We will be back with you tomorrow night, 10 p.m., right back here on the Tone 25 for, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the season finale of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday, championship week, 7 championship games involving top 25 teams. We will preview every nook and cranny of all 7 of those games, believe that, including the headliners such as the Power 5 conferences and 2 other championships, including Conference USA and the American Athletic Championship. We'll get into all that tomorrow night, our season finale of College Football Thursday. Friday, we have NFL Friday, also here on the Tone 25, as we will recap the Seahawks-Cowboy game, and we will preview the remaining slate of week number 13, headlined by America's Game of the Week, the rematch of last year's NFC Championship game, the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. some other good matchups in there as well. It's not the most exciting slate, but there are a few good games here and there. But nonetheless, we'll get into all that on Friday night. Saturday night, probably around 10:30 or so. Hopefully, MF will have it. Cerebral Smack Talk. Friday night SmackDown, AEW Collision, and then of course we move on to next week, Monday night. We do it all again. Ridiculously Raw. Here on the Tone 25, Ridiculously Raw, of course, Monday Night Raw, as well as my Tony's take on Impact on NXT. Well, actually, it'll only be NXT Level Up because Impact Wrestling is doing a silly, campy comedy throwback show, so I'm not even going to bother with Impact Wrestling, so it'll only be NXT Level Up. I will, however, preview the Impact Wrestling Turning Point special that will be airing on Impact Plus on Saturday, December the 9th. So I'll get into that on Monday night. And then 1 week from tonight, Wednesday Night Madness will be back again. NXT, AEW Dynamite. And we go from an exciting Thursday night game to a not so exciting one. A game that justifiably might be our Zonk game of the week next week. Michael Bullock's New England Patriots going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Amazon Prime Video next week. So get into that. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the season finale of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday, this is Anthony Florio here for the Phenom Michael Bullock. And in spirit, good old MF Michael Fletcher. Prayers up for you, my friend. I hope everything's okay on your end. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night in more ways than one. And take care of your business. Get it done. And we're thinking of you. And we hope everything is okay. And hopefully everything will be, and you'll be good to go for tomorrow night. So we're thinking of you, no doubt. And of course, always and forever, the first lady of Talking Wrestling TXN, the one and only Twisted Angel Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Thursday. And until tomorrow night for the season finale of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday, you've been watching this special edition of Wednesday Night Madness right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. And remember, my friends, no matter what anyone tells you beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.